Hi, I'm Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is getting a ton of smoke after making a remark about black children in the Bronx during her visit to the Milken Institute Global Conference in California earlier this month. Now, Hochul was there to promote her Empire AI program, a $400 million initiative aimed at advancing research and AI opportunities for public good through partnerships with leading New York universities and research institutions. Now, as part of this initiative, a state-of-the-art artificial intelligence computing center is planned for upstate New York to generate job opportunities. But things went all the way left when she tried to express the deep need in parts of her state.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
Now, I'm gonna go ahead and admit, I'm a bit torn on this one. I am, because on the one hand, she said what she said. And as a black man, hearing that kind of rhetoric spouted about black children makes me feel a certain type of way. Like, it doesn't even go to the brain. It's just like your gut. Like you know some racism when you see it. And your body knows racism because it feels it. You know what I mean? Like, I felt a certain type of way hearing that about black children. At the same token, context does matter. The whole point that she was trying to make is the deep need that some of these kids have for access to these kinds of resources, which is something we know is most certainly true, and something that we know forms the building block of maintaining the systems of inequity that we see at play all over our society. So she said something that was uncomfortable and insensitive in the service of trying to close the divide and make it so that stereotypes like these don't exist. This actually kind of reminds me of the last Racist of the Week. Y'all remember when I asked whether or not Congressman David Trone deserved a nomination after he said this?
Once been a consideration. So this Republican jigaboo that, it's a tax rate that's stopping business investment, it's just completely faulty by people who've never run a business. They've never been there. They have not a clue what they're talking about.
Now, while I am convinced that Trone didn't mean to say what he said, it made no sense given the context, he said what he said. He said what he said, and Governor Hochul said what she said. And it actually has me asking the same questions, because in the case with Trone, I was like, why is that in your brain? I have no idea. Why is that in your brain? Because in 4 decades, I have never accidentally said jigaboo. I've never accidentally said jigaboo. Now, Governor Hochul has since apologized, saying, quote, I misspoke and I regret it. I'm gonna have to stop you right there, Governor. I'm gonna have to stop you right there. No, you did not misspeak. David Trone misspoke. He said something and he meant something entirely different. Like I misspoke on Mother's Day when my wife asked, oh, what'd you get me for Mother's Day? And I said, oh, well, you're not my mama. That's misspeaking, okay? I misspoke. Trone misspoke. You could have been more sensitive, but you definitely said all the words that came out of your mouth were the words that you intended to come out of your mouth. Now, New York Assembly member Amanda Septimo, who represents the South Bronx, released a statement immediately after. Governor Hochul's remarks regarding young black children in the Bronx were harmful, deeply misinformed, and genuinely appalling. The Bronx I know and love is full of children who are smart, curious, and eager for opportunities to learn and grow. As leaders in New York, we have a responsibility to uplift all children and help them reach their greatest potential. Repeating harmful stereotypes about one of our most underserved communities while failing to acknowledge the state's consistent institutional neglect only perpetuates systems of abuse. I would invite Governor Hochul to visit us in the Bronx to experience firsthand the intelligence, resilience, and joy that radiate from Bronx children and residents each day. Now, a couple things about that statement. She mentioned the children, and that is something to keep in mind because these kids pay attention. And so imagine how it must feel to have the governor of your state, who I'm sure doesn't spend a ton of time in the Bronx, so somebody you don't feel specifically connected to, but you have the governor of your state saying these kinds of things about you. How must that feel to the children in the Bronx? She also mentioned them being one of the most underserved communities, which is also something to keep in mind here as well. So not only do these kids not have a lot of recourse, there are a lot of factors completely outside of their control that have created our situation today. However, those are all motivations that the governor has in traveling down to California and trying to raise money and trying to get AI. Like the whole reason why she said the racist thing is to point to the double standards at play in our society. Man, this one is rough, man. This one got me arguing with myself. Meanwhile, Assembly member Karines Reyes, who also represents parts of the Bronx, posted, "Deeply disturbed by Governor Kathy Hochul's recent remarks and the underlying perception that she has of black and brown children from the Bronx. Our children are bright, brilliant, extremely capable, and more than deserving of any opportunities that are extended to other kids. Do better." To that statement, I love what she said about those children being deserving of any opportunities that are extended to other kids. She's absolutely right about that, and that is one of the most cruelest injustices that exists today in America, is when it comes to education and what some kids have access to and what some kids don't. That was the point that she was trying to racistly make. You know what I mean? Like that kind of was what she was saying while leaning into the stereotypes. This one is tough. Look, clearly when it comes to do better, Governor Hochul clearly needs to do a lot better. She certainly could have made her point a lot better than that. And if she's talking about children, it is incumbent upon her to do no harm. It is incumbent upon her, if those children are her primary motivation, to make sure that they don't get caught as collateral damage or used as some sort of political talking point. Okay, that is of the utmost importance. And we all need to do better when it comes to the whole point of all of this and making sure we close these kinds of educational resources and digital divides. A whole lot of people need to do better. By the way, Kathy Hochul has already had to apologize this year in February after comments she made likening Canada attacking Buffalo to Israel in Gaza.
Call out Hamas for what it is, and it is a terrorist organization that must be stopped. No country should live with that threat, that specter over them. And for those who don't understand this dynamic here in our own state, in our own country, I'll give you an example. I'm from Buffalo. Anybody realize that? If Canada someday ever attacked Buffalo, I'm sorry, my friends, there would be no Canada the next day, right? Right? I love Canada, but we did have the War of 1812, and they did burn Buffalo, so there might be a little conflict here. But think about that. That is a natural reaction. You have a right to defend yourself and to make sure it never happens again. And that is Israel's right.
Yes, because we all know of the great disputed territory of Buffalo. But you know what? I actually want to talk about this. And this. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the only one who saw a news peg that said New York Governor Kathy Hochul raises money for reparations, got excited, and saw it wasn't for me. Yeah, I think I need to talk about that. I'm gonna need a whole nother video though, so make sure you like the video and subscribe to the page, and throw in the comments, or you can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com, whether or not this is a David Trone-esque misspeaking or even more than that. Show me the level of which you think Kathy Hochul was wrong in saying what she said.